One thing that I think that a lot of people have a misconception about the city of Chicago is this narrative. We know it's a red herring to say black on black crime. That doesn't exist, right? We know that it's in social proximity to whoever you live next to, that's who you will commit a crime against. When we're talking about city budgets, city shutdowns, and neighborhoods like South Shore, like Austin, the first priority of this mayor when he came into office, Mayor Rahm Emanuel, was to shut down 6 mental health facilities, right? So when we're talking about there is currently 3,000 people on a wait list to get city services for mental health. These students, young people, folks just every day in the city of Chicago are dealing with PTSD, anxiety, and trauma that comes with not only just over-militarizing and over-policing our communities, but intra-communal violence, right? And so the fact that the city continues to throw the money and think that the answer is, we know that more cops are not the answer, right? You could put 1,000 million cops on the street in 1 square block and it won't prevent people from committing crime. But when you have job workforce programs, when you have good schools, when you have access to mental health wellness, that is what produces responses and answers to these problems. So I just wanted to highlight that too.
What do you see, you're with Our Revolution, so obviously organizing is important in this. We're seeing in New York, there's been some progressive victories. We're seeing even when progressives have lost, not just candidates, but ballot measures, it's starting to, the deficit and the gap of the loss is starting to shrink. We're seeing since 2016 in a lot of places. Are you seeing organizing here, especially also white people joining black people? Are you seeing any improvements? Because a lot of the people I'm talking to are like, ain't nothing ever gonna change in Chicago.
I have definitely seen a major improvement since the Bernie campaign. A lot more progressives are getting involved, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to highlight the systemic problems in Chicago, like lead in the water is our major issue this next election season. Also, we just won the Cook County Assessor's race. Fritz Kagi just won against the Cook County Democratic Chair, Joe Barrios, who had been stealing basically millions of dollars from black and brown communities by over-assessing their property taxes and under-assessing the property taxes in white neighborhoods. So we are looking at candidates that are going to support these issues that we're pushing. We're also now finding out studies have shown that they are ticketing. There are thousands of black people going into bankruptcy in this city because they're just ticketing just those neighborhoods on the south and west side. So we're looking at candidates who are going to fight for these issues, and we're not going to support anyone else. So yeah, things are changing because other people that aren't supporting these issues are not going to get our support.
And also, I know you got to go soon, but like just the psychology, like Harith Augustus, just the video, it seems like he was getting out his FOI card, he was talking to one officer, it didn't seem like there was an issue, and then 2 or 3 come in like the cavalry. For what reason? It looked a little like Eric Garner without the chokehold, but just like them coming in. Like, are you damned if you do or damned if you don't as a black man? Because like if you respond kindly and, you know, without hostility, it seems like there's aggression either way.
Yeah. I do. I definitely, and people that be saying things like he should have complied or they shouldn't be complied, that's one of the most ignorant statements and insensitive statements that you could ever tell to an African American. And people don't understand the level of impact trauma that we go through in the hood when we see stuff like that. Like I was literally, my campaign office, bro been up, my campaign office was literally across the street from where he got shot at. That's my neighborhood. I shop there, I live there, these my people. You know what I'm saying? I was just right there talking to some of them shorties. Went down the street, got something to eat, came back and saw his body laid out in the street. That type of trauma on that, that's why it went wild like that. Because when crises happen in other places, when a white young person shoot up a school or something, they send crisis response teams in there. They send therapists and counselors and psychologists in there. You know what I'm saying? Resources. But when something like that happen to us in our community, we don't get that. And they just expect for us just to, oh, we'll get over it. And that's why the type of response that you had on top of us not getting justice for nobody else in the past. That's why the response was the way it was. Now, as far as the stop, to me, I will always believe it was unconstitutional. This is a carry and conceal state. They said initially that they stopped Mr. Augustus because he had characteristics of an armed person. How does that sound? That mean everybody that in a conceal and carry state? It was racial profiling. That's what it was. And he was talking to an African-American cop. You want to chime in on that? He was talking to an African-American cop, and it's always been a story of our community. It wasn't until the white officer showed up that stuff turned deadly. And that's always been the story of our neighborhood and our community. When the white officers show up, it always turned deadly.